Okay, welcome to part two of tips and tricks for the saitek radio panel in spad.next. I'm going to show you how to import my settings that you saw. If you haven't already seen the previous video, part one, I highly recommend that you check that out first so you'll know exactly where we stand right now. So, very first thing you're going to want to do is go to your profiles and select the profile that you normally use. In my case, I'm going to use SimP3D. And what you're going to want to do is do a new profile from this and just call this test for now. And what the new profile from this will do is it'll create a new profile with the exact same settings as your profile you just copied. In my case, P3D. So what that means is if you already have existing settings for, let's say, your multi-panel or your trim wheel or your yoke or your BIP or any of your FIPS or anything like that, they'll all be copied over here. So when you go to do your radio panel and test things out, you can test it with all of your other stuff still working in the background. Okay, so now that we got that, we're going to create a new panel. Now what we're going to do is since I have two separate radio panels with both different configurations on each, we're going to set up two dummy profiles right now so we can import them in. So let's do we can highlight SimP3D again, that's fine. Do a new profile from this, and we're going to call this Radio 1. Okay. And we're going to do this one more time. New profile from this, and we'll call this Radio 2. Okay. So the quickest way to import the settings that you saw in my previous video are just to do the online snippets, and we'll just import the whole radio into Radio 1 and the whole Radio 2 into Radio 2. So what we're going to first do is let's go into the Radio 1 profile. And you see it's Radio 1 at the top, so we're already in there, which is great. Go to Panels. Just click on the radio panel here. Never mind about all this stuff in here. That's what I already have in there. And what we can do here is go to online snippets. And we're going to do a search for my username. Now, you also might have to check, depending on how you got your SPAD configured, you might have to check show all devices. And just do a search for Vader. And there we go. We got my stuff over here. Okay, so that's great. So let's move this over a little bit so we can see what's going on. And we're going to do left radio for Radio 1. Okay, so double click on this here. It's going to say, do you want to replace all events defined for this device? Yes, you do. Okay, so now Radio 1 now has the configuration of my left radio panel. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into Radio 2 now. Well, actually, let's save Radio 1 first. Okay, go into Radio 2, and we're going to make Radio 2 into my right radio panel. Okay, so we're in Radio 2, Panels, click on the radio, and we're going to do online snippets, and same thing, just type in the first couple letters of Vader, and we're going to do Vader Mike's custom radio panel right side as Radio 2. And yes, replace everything. Okay, so now we got Radio 2 in here too. Okay, save this. Okay, so now what you got to do is you got one of two choices depending on what your configuration is. If you have two radio panels, it's going to be really, really simple because you can just test this out right now on each of your radio panels. Just go into your profile and import Radio 2 into your Radio 2 panel and import Radio 1 into your Radio 1 panel. Now, if you only have one radio panel, then things are going to be a little bit more tricky. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go through each of these panels. We could start with Radio 2 since we're already on it, and just test them out, make sure they're working on your system. And then what you're going to want to do is find out the ones that you want, to keep, and then you'll have to probably mix and match. So in other words, take the best features that you like the best out of Radio 2 and take the best features out of Radio 1 that you want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you an example of what you would do if you only had one radio panel and you wanted to take some features from Radio 2 and some features from Radio 1. Okay, so for example, let's say we're on Radio 2 right now, and on my left display here, I got the frame rate, and on my right display, I got the fuel quantity. Okay, let's say that you didn't want to see the frame rate on the left side because you got something more important that you want there, and you don't want to waste your space there. But you do want the fuel quantity. So what you can do here is we'll highlight the fuel quantity. We'll go to Edit Event, Copy. And in this case, we're just going to copy the single event. So this event will copy the single event that's highlighted right now. Okay, so we'll copy that in here. And that little ding that you hear is just the sound that everything's working correctly. Okay, so now we're going to go to Profiles, go into your test profile, which is a copy of that other profile that you made. So you can go ahead and make changes to test profile without having to worry about it affecting your normal profile. And once we're in test, as you can see above here, go into panels. Now we're going to assume right now that, see how I have a left panel and a right panel? We're going to assume that you only have just the one panel. So I'll treat the left panel as if this is your only radial panel that you have in your configuration. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is select first of all, the switch that you're going to want to import your fuel gallon tank that we copied on there. So in this case here, let's put it in DME, and we're going to put it right over here. So what we got configured there right now? We got, okay, yeah, so we got the nav2 DME configured on there right now, but we want to replace that, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit Event and Paste. Okay, now we got the fuel quantity in there. Now, because we have two separate entries in the right display, you're going to want to remove the other one because you don't want to have any conflicts and stuff like that, or else it's going to be, see how it's switching between the two of them right now, switching between my DME and how much fuel quantity I have left. You don't really want that, or maybe you do, I'm not sure, but I don't like it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and delete the nav2 DME. So we no longer have that. So now what we're going to have is just the fuel quantity total there. Okay. So now let's say on the left-hand side, we want something from my other panel. So let's go ahead and save this here. And we're going to go into Profiles. This time we're going to go to Radial 2. So let's say there's something in the Radial 2 panel on my right-hand display that you wanted. And let's take a look here. What we got? Go to Panels. And let's choose, I gotta go on the right side here. Okay, let's do, actually no, I want to go on the left side. That'll be better. And EMD, what do we got here? Okay, so let's say we want to go, what's this here? Yeah, this is a pretty cool one. So let's say we want the vertical speed at touchdown. We want to copy that over. It's just going to be the exact same thing. We're going to highlight this here. Go over here, copy the single event. Okay. Go over here, go over to your test profile. Panels. Radio, and actually, sorry, I want the bottom radio here, and we want this on, yeah, let's say, you know what, yeah, let's do this. This time, instead of it being on the DME switch, we're going to put it on the transponder switch, which it is right now. So we're going to replace this, the left side of the transponder switch, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Highlight this, and we'll go paste. Okay, so now we have the vertical speed at touchdown, and once again, we have two left displays. We have the barometer setting, and we have the vertical speed. So we want to get rid of one of them, so we'll get rid of the barometer one. Delete event. So now we just have the vertical speed at touchdown. Okay, so now that's how we can mix and match. So if let me just save this here. So if I go back up to the DME switch and go down here, you'll see that we still have the original setting that we replaced this on, the fuel quantity total here. And you could check out various things. So that's how you would import various different settings from either of my radial panels there into your profile. So basically what you have here, guys, is in your profiles, you've got a carbon copy. Radial 1 is a carbon copy of my left-hand panel. Radial 2 is a carbon copy of the right-hand panel. You simply just choose which one of these settings you want and import them into the test panel like I showed you. Okay. Now, if you want to set things up from scratch, you can still do that. I'll show you how to do that here. And I'll give you a really good example for users that are using FSX, because I love this one I'm about to show you here. Let's go to, you know what, let's go to ADF this time. Okay, so let's say I got my millibars setting over here. Let's say I want to replace that, and we're going to do that the configuration way. Okay, um, we want the left display. Okay, we're going to delete this because we don't want that one in there. Now, the one I was telling you about earlier that I like is the altitude of the nearest airport. Let me try to find that variable here. Nearest, yeah, this is it here. Nearest airport altitude in feet. Now, this unfortunately does not work in P3D. If anybody can find out how to get that to work in P3D, please let me know, because I would love to get that in there. I love this setting. But what this one will do here is click OK. See, it's just going to show 0 now on mine because I'm running P3D. But if you're running FSX, it's going to show you, like I was telling you in video 1, the airport altitude of the nearest airport that's closest to you, you know. So I like seeing stuff like that. That's pretty cool. So that's one I used to have in there when I was using FSX, but I removed it now because I just run P3D exclusively. So not much sense in having that in there. And you know what? I'm going to show you one more thing too, because it's really cool. In my, let's go to, it's going to be in my Radio 2, the GPS knobs, because they're really good to import in there. So if I have this set to DME up at the top. Okay. Click on this here. Yeah, so I like these ones here. These are really cool. So what this is saying is the inner button, which is this button here, clockwise and counterclockwise are going to be doing the zoom in and zoom out for the GPS. And the outer buttons I don't even have configured on here, so you can actually configure the outer buttons to do something different. And I also have the active, the short, and the I have a long mode too, apparently. They both do, oh no, they're not the same thing. The short mode does the enter button and long mode does the clear button. Okay, that's cool. I didn't even know I had the clear button in there. I did know about the enter though. Okay, but let's just say the only ones you want to import really are just the GPS zoom for the clockwise and counterclockwise. So what we want to do is let's do the clockwise first and copy this event. Okay, go into your profile and go into your tests profile for testing and panels. And let's see where we want to put this. Where I would recommend to put the GPS zoom is on your DME. The reason being, as I was saying in part 1, the DME rotary knobs here don't do anything because the DME just shows you your distance between the VOR that you're monitoring. So it makes it the most sense to put it there. So you got a choice. You could put on your top DME or your bottom one. So let's put on the bottom one. How about that? Okay, so I'll switch the switch over to DME and click on here. And see, I already have this already configured on here, but I'm going to get rid of that just to show you. Get rid of all my GPS events actually. Okay, so this is like almost setting up from scratch where you have nothing configured for those knobs at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to paste this in here. Okay, GPS controls nav, save this. And that was the clockwise we did. So let's go back and do the counterclockwise. That was radio 2. And that was on the panel. And zoom out counterclockwise this time. Copy this event. Back over to your test profile. Up to panel, and that was the bottom one we did, right? Yes, it was. Okay. And paste this in. Okay, so now we have these buttons here, these knobs doing, well, I'm sorry, just the inner knob for now. You can program the outer knob if you want as well, but just the inner knob right now will actually zoom in and zoom out on your GPS, which is really, really cool. I like having that where you pop up the GPS on your screen and you can zoom in, zoom out with the rotary dial. So let's save this here. And now if you would do the same procedure. I'm not going to show you everything because it'll take such a long time to show you every little import. But basically what you'd want to do is if you just have the one radio panel, just go into the radio panel 1 and radio panel 2 here. Take the settings that you like the most out of it and just go back into your test profile and just save it in there. Then once you have the test profile looking really good, what you could do is you got two choices. You could go over to your Sim P3D or whatever your profile is called, and you could just delete this and use your test profile from then on, and you could just rename the test profile to something more appropriate, like, I don't know, Cessna 172 or Piston Aircraft or whatever you want, something more appropriate than test. Or you can leave the test on here and import things back into your the profile that you normally use. But either which way, that's how you do that, guys. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to try to answer any short questions you have. But please be aware that, just because I don't have a lot of time, I can't answer every single question for you. So if you have any other questions, you might want to go to the spad.next forum and check out to see if your question's already been answered there. And if not, contact the system administrator for spad.next, and he'll be more than happy to help you. So that's it, guys, and stay tuned for some new informational videos on some of my other tips and tricks that I have. Talk to you later.